You're listening to a CNA podcast.
Remember Remy, the little critter from Ratatouille who dreamed of becoming a chef in Paris? Well, fast forward to 2025 and rats are still in the kitchen, but it's no Pixar fairy tale. Cities from New York to Bangkok are seeing a sharp rise in rat populations, and climate change is playing its part. Today we explore whether our warming planet is quietly becoming the perfect breeding ground for an urban rat boom. Hello and welcome to Climate Conversations. I'm Jack Board. Hello to Liling Tan, live from the home of Remy this week. Ça va?
Bonjour. Oui, ça va, merci. Et toi? All right, that's me showing off my French a little bit.
Very good.
Thank you. Merci. I'm actually about 3.5 hours by car from Paris, which is the true home of Remy and Ratatouille. Where I am, not as many rats here in the countryside, fortunately. Maybe harvest mice? There are a lot of cornfields and sunflower fields around me right now.
That sounds very pleasant for you
It is.
right now. Where are the biggest rats you've ever seen?
New York.
Can you recall?
New York, hands down. Biggest cats. I mean, these things were huge. And you know, New York is a city of alleyways, and they used to put out the garbage by the streets for the trucks to collect. And they didn't collect the trash as regularly as they do now. And those rats were everywhere. When you approach, they look you in the eye and stare you down and say, "Get out of my way. You're in my territory now." And then there are those subway rats as well. And those guys are faster, they're terrifying, they're smaller, but they're quicker on their feet, and I'm pretty sure they're still there terrorizing people. What about you?
Oh, good analysis. I can't go past India. Some of the rats get in around big Indian cities. Enormous, terrifying. And I also distinctly remember being in Georgetown in Penang and see probably the biggest individual. So that was a massive rat on the streets there,
you
but
sure it was a
could have
rat?
just been a freak one. I used to get a lot when I lived in Cambodia too. They'd come into the house and go through the roof.
Really?
And
Wow.
one rat that was kind of stuck inside the building demolished this. It was like a small tree, and within 24 hours it had eaten the whole tree. Incredible.
What kind of tree was it?
It was just like a tree in a pot in a
Oh, wow, interesting.
demolished.
Yeah, they pretty much eat what they can, don't they?
We see rats in popular culture a lot. Do you have a favorite
Oh,
over
yes.
the years of which friendly rat?
Oh, yes.
you like?
Fievel.
Or unfriendly rat?
Fievel from An American Tale. Do you
Oh,
remember
I
that?
forgot about Fievel. I loved American Tail, but he's a mouse, isn't he?
there.
Isn't he a mouse?
Oh, you know, you're right. You're right. What's his name? Remy is in Ratatouille is a rat. Fievel's a mouse. You're right. What about yours?
I have a couple of random rats that I liked. I don't know if you remember. This is like going back to my childhood, right?
Jerry.
Do you remember
Tom and Jerry.
Captain Planet?
Remind me.
Captain Planet was like these planeteers that would work to save the world from pollution. Actually, they're bringing Captain Planet back.
Are they? Wow.
It was like early climate change advocacy on TV for children. And anyway, one of the bad guys his name was Verminous Scum. And he was like this humanoid rat-like creature who embodied all of urban blight and disease and drug abuse. Yeah, it was an awful rat. And there was also an Australian kids show called The Ferals, and the leader of the gang
that's clever.
of these feral animals, his name was Rattus, and they all lived in the backyard shed. So I was a big fan of Rattus. And shout out to Splinter as well from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He was a cool rat.
Oh, you know, I vaguely recall you dressed up as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle as well. I think that needs to go into the public domain.
No, it does not, and we'll be moving on immediately. Okay, it's quiz time. Liling, I'd like to know from you, how big is the largest rat species by weight? Ballpark figure from you. Bonus points if you can tell me which continent it lives on.
Okay, I'm going to go with 10 pounds, give or take.
You give me the rest of the answer at the end, but that's a good start. Time for our main story this week. Rats are the most common pest in the world. With temperatures on the rise all over the globe, the conditions for them to survive and thrive are becoming more common too. Warmer winters, for example, mean more rats survive. Heavier rains drive them out of the sewers and into the streets. They are often the harbingers of disease, of pathogens, of parasites.
Well, I like your phrasing, harbingers of disease, pathogens of parasites, very dramatic. I don't know if there are that many under my feet, but I'm sure there are more under yours, and I am shuddering at the thought of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well acquainted you are with Bangkok's sewer system, Leiling, but I'm sure they're definitely down there right now.
The reason we're tackling this issue today is it's something that affects many of us living in cities. There is a study that backs up a feeling you might have about there being more rats around these days than before, and it was done by a bunch of researchers and published this year in the journal Science Advances. Now, they used public complaints and inspection data from 16 cities around the world to estimate trends in rat populations. 11 of 16 cities, or about 69% of them, had rat numbers that increased significantly. And some of those cities included New York, San Francisco, and Amsterdam.
But 3 of the cities, though, did record fewer rats, which was interesting, including Tokyo. So I wonder what's going on there. Maybe we'll get to that later. Sorry to interrupt
Yes,
you.
patience, please, Jack. Now, some of the cities where we saw a jump in rat numbers, it wasn't just by a few, it was by a lot. Washington, D.C. had a 390% increase over the past decade. That's like 400% almost. San
That is
Francisco.
almost 400%.
What is that, like 4 times, right? San Francisco, 300%, triple. Toronto, 186%, almost double. I mean, this is a whopping, staggering jump in rat population.
Yeah, take these comments from an entomologist in Toronto. She was quoted by The Guardian. She says, "When you walk the streets of Toronto, under your feet, deep in the sewage system, is a place teeming with rats. And increasingly, we're flushing them out into open spaces, either through construction or floods, and they have to go somewhere." And from a city councillor in Toronto as well last year, this is a perfect rat storm. An interesting note for me as well was that the researchers basically acknowledged that even though so many cities weren't analysed for this study, mostly because the data was incomplete or inconclusive, the same trends would be expected everywhere.
A lot of this study features American cities and some others around the world, and weather seems to be a consistent factor in what they're seeing. That is, cold winters typically act as natural pest control, right? Small mammals struggle in the cold and then they die off. But when it gets warmer, they can breed more, scavenge more, and survive longer, and the cycle continues.
Right. And there's a direct correlation here between cities heating the fastest because of climate change and rat population numbers. Also, the cities with less vegetation experienced greater increases in rats. And the next biggest variable, population density. All in all then, long-term temperature increase, a lack of green space, dense living equals rats. And that does make sense. But yet all of these factors are basically global trends everywhere. There's more pressure on living space, rising populations. The human population is projected to grow by more than 20% by 2050, according to the UN. Most of that growth will occur in cities. All the while, the planet continues to heat up. And we spoke about the urban heat island effect in last week's episode. Do go back and listen to hear about that. It means that warming is simply more intense in cities where this heat island effect produces higher temperatures than in surrounding areas. So I don't see this going away.
Right, and with more people, more food becomes available. So that becomes a huge attraction for these rat populations as well to proliferate. Now, Singapore is one place where we know the heat island effect is a significant issue. And so we can expect the rise of rats there too. And despite efforts by the authorities to keep the pests in check, rat infestations have been on the rise. And there have been other places too in our region that have separately looked at this issue where heat and urbanization are big factors. Kuching in Malaysia is one. Side note, Jack, kuching means cat in Malay, but clearly the rats didn't get the memo.
Yeah, good one.
And then there's Pattaya in Thailand, which just a couple months ago recorded infestations as well. So why should we care, Jack? Apart from rats having this disgusting germ-carrying reputation?
Because the reputation is well earned?
Correct. They can transmit around 60 different types of diseases to humans through direct and indirect contact. It can be bites and scratches that cause infections, fleas and ticks. Remember the plague, Jack? And of course, inhaling inhaling contaminated air can expose us to things like hantavirus, which is not curable. Rats can cause hugely expensive damage to infrastructure. They are also highly damaging to local biodiversity. They can cause havoc to food production and storage. So this is a very, very expensive problem for nations that are seeing huge rat infestations. And then there are certain reputational risks to businesses as well, especially those in food and hospitality, right? To have rats around, if you saw one in your favorite hawker stall or restaurant, you probably think twice about the hygiene and sanitation there, correct?
You would, right? Definitely. But I can also kind of appreciate how difficult it is to manage the situation in some places. It can't be so easy. Back to Tokyo, I'm kind of curious what it's doing well. Because the study did show a decrease in rat sightings there. So the study doesn't fully answer that question, but it posits that the Japanese capital has high cultural expectations of hygiene that promote sanitation standards. And that's amplified by social networking and media. And people can quickly publicize unsanitary conditions and rats they see in the city. So basically you've got rat vigilantes, and they're working to rid the city of rat crime. So maybe some cities could introduce like a rat man or something to take on this crisis.
Okay, calm down now, Jack Board.
A rat man, it could be the next like Marvel hero. Like a public awareness campaign of like the issues that we have with rats.
Yeah,
or maybe it's part of the new Captain Planet.
Or you could switch out of your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume and like transform into some sort of rat man superhero.
Maybe Verminous Scum can return, but he'll be a good guy this time.
Yeah. I bet you're looking forward to that.
Definitely. Back to the quiz. How big is the largest rat species by weight? And I also said I'd give you a bonus point if you told me which continent it lives on. Liling, any ideas? You can try and guess the country, but I think that's a little hard.
I think the biggest one I've seen is about the size of a cat. So what's a cat, like 9-10 pounds? So I'm going to guess it's bigger than that. I'm going to go with 12 pounds.
I don't know what pounds are. So in kilos, that's like 5.4 kilos. Okay, 5.4 kilos. And where do you think it lives?
I think it's got to be either Africa or Australia, because you guys have pretty scary critters down under. I'm going to go with Africa, actually.
African rats. Interesting.
And you know what? I don't know why, but Gambian rat just popped into my head because I was thinking Africa, and I think I've actually...
Okay. Well, I'm glad it popped into your head, but it hasn't popped into my answers. So... The largest living rat species by body mass is the Sumatran bamboo rat. It can weigh about 3.9 kilos, and it's about 50 centimeters long. So you've gone a little bit too big in the wrong continent. But I will say that there was an now extinct rat species that used to be found in Timor-Leste that was even larger. It weighed around 6 kilos. So that was the largest rat ever recorded. So that's getting pretty close to your 12-pound guess.
Wow. Okay.
All right, that's all for this week. We'll be back as usual next Thursday. Maybe it'll just be me, though, while Liling takes a little vacay.
Woohoo! Do join us again next week, or join Jack next week. Find more of our episodes on the CNA website, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Liling Tan. Bye for now.
And I'm Jack Board. Our thanks to the team that produced this episode: Saya Win, Tiffany Ang, Janani Jahari, Penning Ho, and Nat Fiddlevera.